So the purpose of this video is not to be a downer or to be negative or to complain about all the things that I don't like about wedding filmmaking or all the hard things. But for those of you who are interested in starting wedding filmmaking, or maybe you've already gotten started and you just weren't expecting some of the harder things that you've come across, I hope this might get you all thinking on some of those expectations of the hard things about wedding filmmaking, maybe the cons, and not just thinking about those hard things, but also ways to overcome them or think through them or work through them in your own life as well. Now, these are cons from my perspective. You may have a totally different list of hard things about wedding filmmaking. And let's not forget too, there are a ton of pros to wedding filmmaking. Like, I'm consistently doing wedding film still, and there's a reason for that. I mean, the creativity, just doing video, I love doing that. The money, the meeting new people, the training, the experience, the growth that happens through wedding filmmaking. Getting to create something that didn't exist before through video is just really, really fun. And then I think weddings are actually fun too. You're part of kind of a big celebration, and you're creating something really special and personal and lasting for the couple and their families. So it's really important. So I've talked about all those throughout the course of doing videos on this channel. So right now, let's go ahead and dial in on the cons of wedding filmmaking and how to work through them. Number one, weekends. So most of my friends and family are off on Saturdays, which is when I would be shooting a wedding. So that is a big con for me as far as doing weddings every weekend, which is one of the reasons why I don't. There's a lot of reasons why I'm only doing about 1 to 2 weddings a month. One of those reasons is I'm in grad school right now. But on top of that is I have other priorities in my life that need to take up that weekend space. Sometimes there are family events that I might be missing, or trips that I'm missing because I'm shooting weddings on the weekends. So that's something you need to take stock of, the priorities in your life, and make sure that you're not filling up all of your weekends and not giving yourself any room to use that time for other priorities that you have. Maybe you can use up every single weekend of the year shooting weddings. You just have to figure that out for yourself and what you're willing to bend on. I know it's a lot different for those of you who have full-time jobs like myself and then are shooting weddings on the weekend as well. So you're working pretty much every day that week, as opposed to someone who this is their only job and they have free time during the week. Now with that, one of the reasons like I don't really want to go full-time is during the week, I don't want to have a lot more free time when everyone else is working. That's just my personal preference at this particular time in my life, and that's just one of the reasons I wouldn't go full-time. But the weekend is something you need to think through, and one of the cons to wedding filmmaking. And number two, pressure. Now, please don't misunderstand me. Just because something is high pressure doesn't mean that it is a con. But the reality is, during a wedding day, there are no redos. You're not going to be redoing the day over. If you miss something, then you miss something. Maybe you can stage things later in the day, but there's not a ton of wiggle room, and you want to make sure that you are on during the wedding day. So being on for that long can be really mentally and emotionally and physically taxing, because you're not the director of a commercial shoot. You're not in total control. You are capturing things as they happen and expected to capture everything that's important. So that can be something that's really, really hard for a lot of people. But what you can do is be prepared as you can possibly be for the wedding day, so you can feel more confident in being able to get everything that you need to get, as well as other more creative things that you want to get for their film or their documentary film or whatever. So be prepared and be ready to control what you're able to control during the day. And I hope all the videos on this channel have helped you become more prepared and confident when you go into your next wedding day. Number three, exhaustion. Wedding days are exhausting. They are long. You're on your feet all day. Like I said before, you have to be dialed in and focused pretty much for the entirety of the day. You'll probably be sweating pretty good just from running around, depending on when you're shooting the wedding as well. If it's hot outside, you're probably going to be pretty drenched in sweat. It's just really, really tiring. And on some wedding days, I wake up, my head pops off the pillow. I'm like, I'm not sure how I'm going to make it through today. You know, I have a 10-hour day of shooting. Man, this is going to be a day. But I made an entire video on how to deal with wedding day exhaustion, so you can go ahead and check the link above or in the description below if you want to keep watching through this video first. And hopefully there will be some tips there that help you out. All right, number four, creative freedom. Now this one's very nuanced, and I'm not sure like it's entirely true, and it could be a pro and a con. But essentially what I'm saying with creative freedom is that you're not a director on a commercial shoot. You're not in total control. You're not telling the story that you specifically want to tell within only the constraints that you create and maybe some external ones. For a wedding day, you're largely just shooting what's happening. This is a live event. So you're gonna have to tell this story within the constraints that are placed on you in the context of a wedding day or a live event. So if the lighting is terrible, then you might just have to use that terrible lighting, and in some instances you can fix the lighting, so you want to make sure that you are being proactive. Or maybe the weather outside is terrible and you're not able to go get those beautiful outdoor shots or those sunset shots that you were planning on getting, and that's just out of your control. Personally, I kind of like the out of control nature of a wedding day. I like to plan and be prepared for sure, but I kind of like the go with the flowness of a wedding day and adapting and just kind of rolling with the punches as they come and trying to make it work. But there are two caveats that come along with this. One is that you need to control what you're able to control. Don't just let things happen to you for the worst during a wedding day and chalk it up to, well, it's just how a wedding day goes. Like the example I gave before with the lighting. If the lighting's terrible, figure out if you can shut off that, gross tungsten lighting that's above the couple and put them near a window or whatever. You still do have plenty of creative control, but there are just limitations that are placed on that in it being a live event. And then caveat number two is that even with these limitations, you can create something so cinematically, beautifully amazing that they could play that thing in theaters. Just go on YouTube and watch some of the most popular wedding films, and you'll see that these things are incredible. This is real filmmaking. Also, two video editors could get the same exact footage from a wedding day and create two totally different stories and just edit them completely differently, have two different highlight films. Editing is really where the magic happens for me. That's where I create this story, and that's the part I really love to do. Okay, so number 5 is monotony. Now, this is similar to the last point where it's very nuanced and not completely true, but the fact of the matter is that you're shooting weddings over and over. Like you're shooting the same type of event consistently. Many people have gotten bored shooting weddings over and over, and it's easy to get in a creative rut. My rebuttal to that first is the cliche statement that every wedding is different. No two weddings are the same. There's a lot of uniqueness that you can bring out in every wedding that you shoot. There are different people, different things happening, different personalities, different stories, different locations. And also you can revitalize your creativity in the editing suite as well and mix things up. So if you're shooting the same way every single wedding and editing the same way every single wedding, everything's structured exactly the same as you always do it, I'd say, yeah, it'd be pretty easy to get bored and it just becomes monotonous. So change things up, add different types of shots, different types of angles, different ways of shooting things, different ways of structuring your edit, or using music to fit the edit in an exciting or cool way. Do things that are exciting within wedding filmmaking, because there's a lot you can do. Don't just be satisfied with this is just how I do things and now I'm bored with it. If you're getting bored with it, you can change that. It's not the wedding's job to change that. You can change it. You can stoke that creativity. You can change things up. So don't just fall into monotony and stay there and not do anything about it. So let me know if there's anything that you would want to add or anything that you disagree with that list of cons in the comments below. And since you've made it this far, I have another little personal fun fact for you, just so you can get to know me a little bit better. These are two x-rays of my back. The one on the left is from the side and the one on the right is from my back. So I had spinal fusion surgery because I had Sherman's kyphosis. You can go ahead and look that up on the Google machine if you want to. I had the surgery the summer before my senior year of high school. I just think those images are kind of wild. Like, those are titanium rods down pretty much the entirety of my spine, and those like spikes in there are the screws that are keeping it in. It's just kind of like crazy to me what they can do to the human body. It's just insane. All right, see you later.